it's another side that like wants to take more, wants to go that one more round, because like going that one more round when you don't think you can, that's what makes all the difference in your life. You know what I mean?
Welcome to One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast. I'm your host, Ryan. With me today, as always, is Kyle and Katie. Now, before we get going, I just want to let our listeners know that Katie is in Ecuador.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. Katie, tell us your situation. What's happening? Why are you in Ecuador? Why are you not home?
Well, I went to Ecuador, Galapagos, and Quito, and Guayaquil, and the Amazon for vacation. On our way home, we have to take a test to get back to America, and we have COVID, my friend and I, along with a number of other people in our traveling group. We have no symptoms, thanks to us being triple vaxxed. We feel completely fine, but we cannot re-enter our country. We test negative, so we are stuck in a hotel in Ecuador until we test negative. You know, I miss my dogs.
Has anyone asked you to bring a package home or anything like that, them as a favor or for an exorbitant amount of money?
I have asked with every animal we meet if I could bring him home, but no packages that I've been requested to smuggle back.
That's good, because your stay in Ecuador might be a little longer than...
Yeah, please.
Far too long.
Yeah, don't get arrested. Please don't get arrested.
It will not.
I don't know if I can find another female host as good as you.
Ah.
You're definitely part of this trio. Yeah, can nobody die for at least till we get through this series? After we're done recording Rocky Balboa, go ahead. Do what you got to do. All right, Kyle, how you doing this week? I'm
doing pretty good. Nothing terribly exciting. I'm COVID-free. Ready to talk Rocky.
All right. Again, so Katie's, for our listeners, yes, so Katie's speaker voice sounds a little bit different because she wasn't prepared to do a podcast in Ecuador, so that's why the audio is a little bit not as good as usual. So bear with us, but we thought it was more important to do the show, of course, with her. There's no way we're doing it without her. So, Katie, you have a couple of emails. So we thank those who do email us. If you want to email us, email is one more round. What is it now? Actually, why don't you read the emails and I'll double check the email. Go ahead. I forget the address.
It's one more round Rocky podcast at gmail.com.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. And it's in every show description anyways. The first email, I think, is from Brian Granko. He's the Google Map guy. He's the one that always sends us those Google Map pictures.
The subject is Religious Arena, Rocky House. Hi, everyone. I see Katie has been to some destinations and added another. I listened to the whole Creed 2 episodes and had an email to send, but I'll stick to the Rocky series. I'm including photos to show some of the locations. There was mention about where the Spider Rico Rocky fight took place. The photos show it was done at the Oscar La Hoya Boxing Center in LA. I couldn't find old photos of the area, but you can see how it has changed. I remember hearing they were handing out $20 bills to people in bars or the street to use extras for that scene. $20 would be about $100 today. I wonder if they used the same locker rooms as the boxing. The credits were rolling. Katie mentioned who George Mamoli was. He was the ice rink attendant. And I noticed he used the Philly accent pretty well. Al mentioned about Sly playing football. 3 of the photos show where he got his interest. Rocky House was mentioned. Had some photos I made from a video Mike made. You can see how small the actual interior is. I grew up in a house just like that. Someone mentioned what the rent would be back then. I think my mom paid about $60 a month back in the mid-1960s and sold it for about $10,000 in 1978. I think the last thing mentioned in episode 2 was the song playing called Summer Madness by Kool and the Gang. Looking forward to episode 3, Brian.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks, Brian, for telling us who I forget his name now, but who that guy was in the credits. We just mentioned a couple of the names, and I didn't...
George Mamoli. George Mamoli played the ice rink.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that makes sense. 10 minutes. 5 minutes, yeah. Thank you, Brian. He's always great with that information. He knows those locations and what have you very well. And Brian, we appreciate your support. He's one of our patrons as well, so thank you for your support on Patreon as well. Thank you so much. All right, we got another one from E.M. King. He's another one of our faithful listeners from the old show.
He says, I am going 23 bums, first Rocky, Price is Right style. Brian, what do I win if I get it correct? Keep up the amazing job on Rocky series. I never thought I would listen to another run of this same series. Excellent job. I'm in for the distance. Thanks again, Ian.
In the bum pool here.
So, yeah, that's E.M. King. So he has 23. Yeah, E.M. King. So if you want to join the bump count, still not really too late. We'll take the honor system. You know, we've got people you can join late, because sometimes people listen to podcasts, they wait for 4 or 5 episodes and then they join, right? So we'll take the bump count up to, let's say to the time that Apollo picks Rocky's name. We'll take the bump count up to then, and we'll honor system, like what would have been your honest choice. So 23 is a pretty solid guess. I kind of like that one. What do we have right now there, Kyle? What's the bump count?
The 2 episodes you've done were 6 bums in. There is 6 bums in the first episode, 0 bums in the second. Then we'll see about the third here.
All right. Well, if we get to far enough along in this episode, there are going to be a few coming up.
What does he get? He asked what he got.
That's a good question. What does he get? Let me think about that, EM. I don't know. Maybe I'll send you some Sterno alcohol. Is that what it's called, Sterno? Yeah, Sterno bombs.
Sterno bomb.
Yeah, okay. That's a good question. What should we send him? We'll figure out something. Okay, well, I'm excited because there's some really, really good scenes coming up here. We last left off in Rocky's apartment. He's holding that makeshift ice pack to his head with his hand. And the next sequence, of course, is comes the first scene with Adrian and Rocky inside the pet store. So let's check some of that out. Oh, yeah, and Brian mentioned that was Cool in the Gang. I said KC Sunshine is Cool in the Gang. Yeah, that's right. Cool in the Gang did this song that Kyle likes that's in the background, that wee sound. Love that little moment when Rocky does that kind of weird wiping, handing, waving motion on the glass as he's saying hi to the puppies and he whistles at them. But he's doing that just like, I'm pretending to see the puppies, but he kind of eyeballs to see if Adrian's in the store too, and is she working that shift before he walks in. I kind of like that little moment.
How you feeling this morning, huh? Full of life?
I just love that. How you feeling this morning? You full of life? Have you ever asked anyone that question? Are you full of life?
It's a Rocky.
I kind of like, you see Rock's like really cheerful here, which is a big difference from the previous scene when he's sitting there with that music and the ice on his face, potentially having an existential crisis. Now he's kind of out and about. He has an interesting life because he's not really on the 9-to-5 schedule that most of us are on. He does fighting in the evenings and then like occasionally does work for Gazzo, but otherwise just kind of milling around town. Seems like he's pretty happy here. Maybe seeing Adrian's kind of the highlight of his day.
Oh, I think he just tries to convey a different persona when he's outside.
My challenge to you guys this week is to ask somebody, are they full of life? How you doing today? You full of life? And just see what the response is. I'm going to do I'm going to work tomorrow. I'm going to do it with somebody. I'm going to say, how you feeling this morning? You full of life? I want to hear the response. But she says fine. Adrian says fine. Now look behind there. This copy of the movie that we're watching, I think it must be like a high-def 4K version. I noticed things on here that I didn't see before or notice before because it's really clear and crisp. And the signs in the background, it says steam, sauna, massage, shower. Look at that grubby place. Can you imagine going in there for a massage?
I've noticed, I guess, like you can get a mic to grease you up in the back. Rocky does talk about taking a steam later on.
That's true.
Which would be good if your muscles are sore and stuff from fighting the night before.
So what's the difference between a steam and a
sauna? About it almost.
Sauna's dry.
I guess, yeah, it's a dry heat, but I find that I'm sweating so much it feels like a steam. Yeah, you're right. I guess it's that dry heat from the rocks. Yeah.
One thing I love, having not grown up in the 70s, looking at like packaging and stuff like that and seeing what things look like back then. So just kind of looking at the pet foods back there, what it is on the corner of the counter here. Like it almost looks like kids' toys or something like that.
The fish foods. Yeah, right. Now, the steam thing, I have a question about the steam. In this context, it totally makes sense. However, I've been confused watching this because when they go to Anne's bar and Rocky asks where Polly is, he says, in the steam room. So are they also referring to the bathroom?
I think in the context of this sign here, it certainly isn't referring to the bathroom because I wonder if it's like just like a nickname for the bathroom because it's humid and gross or whatever in there that you kind of sarcastically or jokingly call it the steam room.
Or you leave a steaming pile of... yeah, that's why... Sorry. After I'm done, it's a steam room.
Hey, how you doing, killer?
How you doing, killer? As he says, petting the little dog there.
How's the turtle food this week?
Fine.
Me, I'm kind of aggravated, you know?
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's been leading up to this moment in his mind. He's, how's the turtle food this week? It's fine. He said, well, I'm a little bit aggravated this morning. Oh, I'm sorry, says Adrian. But
He doesn't even look up.
No, she doesn't look up.
One thing I find interesting, too, he reaches behind the counter. Because that turtle food and stuff there is behind the counter. Presumably the clerk there has to get it for you. He just kind of reaches over and takes it. And to me, that's very dominating. Like if I were working there, I'd be very put off by that. I'd be like, what the f*** are you doing? But Adrian is so the opposite of being dominant. I think she probably doesn't even faze her there. But I wonder if that makes her feel a little bit uncomfortable. And Rocky probably just doesn't realize he's doing that.
So Rocky's supposed to say, well, it ain't your fault that he's aggravated. He goes, it ain't your fault. But he goes, do you want to hear about it? This is like a comedian setup. You got to build up the storyline for the punchline. This is all part of the... He's just trying to get to his joke, and she's taking the conversation seriously.
Kind of aggravated, you know? You want to hear about it?
I'll tell you somebody don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, you doing, Gloria? You know, the last turtle food I got here had more moss in it than flies. You know that, Adrian? These moths, they get caught in the turtle's throat right about here in the cough, right? I gotta smack them on the back of the shell, and what do you think they get? Huh? And they get what? Huh? Go what? Show shot. They get show shot. What do you think?
You're starting with the bad jokes early, huh?
Well, no, I just inventing jokes ain't so easy. So.
You got a smile out of her.
She does a cute little smile there, absolutely. And another thing I noticed is that he does touch her arm to get her attention. I think we have to remember, though, and I know this is going to be a discussion for later, so I don't want to get into it right now, but I think we have to remember what we're seeing here. This is not the first conversation. I think a lot of people think this is the first conversation. This is one of many. He has been here a lot. He's a regular at the pet shop. He knows where to grab the turtle food. Adrian's just shy, but they've had a lot of conversations because he's also known Polly. Don't forget, he's known Polly since they were in high school. So he's known Adrian for years.
Anyone who's watched the film a lot would have to agree with you, Ryan, because he even says to Adrian later on that he bought the bowl and all the stuff for his turtles from Adrian. So, like, he has to have met her before. Plus, like you said, he's friends with Polly's. That would be insane if that was the first time that he saw her.
You know, maybe the attraction has just started recently, last year or so, or half a year. Who knows? Even just a few months. But Rocky's made it his mission as of now, like, yeah, his romancer. And he's not done anything inappropriate, I don't think. Katie, has he done anything inappropriate that you think?
No, he's really trying, though, because when he's asking her, what do they say? What do they say? What do they get? What do they get? She kind of makes giving him nothing. Makes a, like, I don't know, what do you want from me? Sort of a... But then she smiles, so it's really hard for him to read her. And so I think he's being respectful.
Absolutely.
The only thing I'll say, and this is a more modern interpretation, I don't think this applies as much in the 70s here. So it'll be unfair to Rocky, but I think it's generally bad taste to flirt with people while they're at work, especially in the service industry, because they're almost kind of like a captive audience, and it is part of their job to be nice to you. And so it's like if you flirt with a store clerk or a server or something like that.
A Hooters waitress?
Yeah, well, yeah, that blurs the line a bit, I suppose. But, you know, generally, if you did, you'd have to be very subtle about it. This is a different time, a different place. So it's like, you know, I'm not going to put that on him for that. Also, I know this is stupid, but turtle food thing's driving me crazy. So he picks a turtle food from the back of the shelf. He reaches across the counter to pick this thing of turtle food. And then Gloria, when she comes, takes the turtle food from him. He probably isn't going to pay for it. And then he grabs another identical thing of turtle food that's already on the counter directly in front of him. Why did he grab the turtle food in the back? I don't know. They had to put the turtle food there just so that sequence would work.
Right. Well, and I don't even think, I would argue he's not flirting with her at all. He's not commenting, oh, you look nice, pretty. He's just trying to like talk to her.
Yeah, break her out of her own turtle shell.
Yeah, it was a nice little scene. I think Talia Shire, she's a great actress, so I think she does a really, really good job as Adrian here.
Talia Shire, when she first met Sylvester Stallone, she said the first time she met Stallone was, of course, during the auditions or whatever. And, of course, Sly was part of the audition process, for people. She said right away, instant chemistry, that she just fell in love with him right away. The first time she saw him, he literally walked backwards into the room, did like a little dance and twirl thing, and he was just full of energy and life. Yeah, so Talia right away said instantly she knew this guy was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so their
Great
chemistry
story.
on screen is very real. You've seen those like behind the scene photos, of Sly holding her cheek and kissing it, making the kissing. You've seen that picture? I think it's used in the film as a photo in the film when they're dating. So they took that picture in real life, but it's just a cute picture of Talia Shire and Sly. But they had a real close friendship. I think it's really nice to hear. And same with Burt Young. Those three, they've remained friends and close. I would say close as celebrities are, but they've always been friendly. And that's the thing. If any actress would have anything to say about if there was inappropriate behavior behind the scenes, it would be a woman that's done 5 films with a guy. Think about that.
Do you think anything ever happened there?
No, they never have. No. If they did, it's like the best kept secret in Hollywood because a lot of stuff gets leaked, but they have always just been close, friendly. I think Talia's been married. I think she's been married most of this time. I don't think she was single. I know Sly was also married at this. I mean, the same, but I think Talia was married more specifically at this time. But anyways, yeah, I thought that was really interesting to hear her talk about how much she just loved Sly the first time she met him. Also, Sly said that the reason why Adrian is the type of personality that he would be attracted to, or Rocky would be attracted to, is because Rocky would find it easier to more comfortable talking to shy girls. He just finds shy girls more attractive. That's Rocky's nature. He finds shy girls attractive. He finds Adrian attractive. Not in the conventional way, but just that personality. He doesn't say why, but he just said that
I think the reason he's attracted, I think sometimes you're just attracted to who you're attracted to. Yeah. I think also like he probably likes shy girls because a girl who's more, say like Gloria, someone who's very outspoken, might just call him like an effing loser or something, or a bum or something like that, right? He's just not having it. Someone who's like really ambitious or something like that probably wouldn't want Rocky in their lives because Rocky's kind of going nowhere. Probably in a sense intimidated by people who aren't as shy. One thing I like about Adrian specifically is that she's not your typical movie love interest. She's not the blonde bombshell. And even when she kind of comes out of her shell and looks more kind of conventionally attractive and stuff, she's still a very normal looking person. Like, she's very attractive. I find her attractive, but she's not like, she's pretty normal looking. She's like not a supermodel or anything like that. And I like that. I like that you have normal looking people. To me, it's more real.
Agreed.
Also, I think he feels safe with her.
There you go. Yeah.
With a shy person.
They're perfect for each other. Now, I love Gloria. It's funny seeing this now as I get older. I'm 46 now. And it's funny now watching Rocky. When I was a teenager watching this movie and even a young adult, Gloria always seems so much older. Now I'm watching Gloria. It's like, I think she looks young. Now she kind of looks young. I'm like, oh boy, I'm getting older. Gloria actually doesn't look like the old hag I thought she was. Now she just looks... She doesn't look as old as my young brain thought she was as I get older. I just found that very interesting watching this. Oh yeah, Gloria doesn't seem as old as I thought she was.
Except for everybody here, except for Burt Young, he seems like he's still a real grown up. He's 2 years younger than I am now. As a teenager, like a 30-year-old was like a full out adult. 30-year-olds are legitimate adults, but I view 30-year-olds pretty different now. People working under me in their late 20s, and they're like kids basically to me. You know what I mean? Rocky, I see him kind of like that. He seems immature to me now, which is weird because watching these films, it was the total opposite.
They're given a hard time. The fact that he and Adrian are still single people, like they aren't married with children at age 30, is mind-boggling for people at that time. It's like you're over the hill by the time you're 30.
So now Rocky turns to look at the floor and goes, how's my buddy doing today? Of course, we know it's Butkus. Butkus is his name in real life. What kind of dog is he, Katie?
He's a bull mastiff, and I have a fur nephew. that is a bull mastiff.
Cute. Buckus is such a great name. We all know the story, if it's true. We all know the story that Sly had to sell Buckus in real life before the film, of course. He didn't have any money, and he sold Buckus to get some cash for groceries, essentially, just living. And I believe that's much true, but what is disputed is who he sold it to and how much he got it back for. There's been a couple stories. Jimmy Gambino, who plays Mike in this film, apparently he is the one that bought the dog from Sly. That's the rumor, or that's the story that he tells on an episode of a podcast I heard. And then I also heard that if it wasn't him, it was somebody else, but that Sly apparently offered $25,000 to get it back. So both might be true, or one or the other might be true, but what are you guys' thoughts on that? Or what have you guys heard?
The story I heard was that he sold that dog in LA outside of like this liquor store to this random guy. Didn't know. I don't know how much. Like, it'd see like $1,000, which is insane. That's a lot of money.
The idea was it was like under $100. I don't think it was more than $100.
Like $50. I heard 50.
Okay, yeah, so that sounds more accurate. Some marginal amount of money. Then when Sly got the money for this Rocky deal or whatever, or when he got some more money that he could buy the dog back, he waited outside that liquor store for days, hoping that this person would come back to the store just to get more booze or whatever. And then when they did, the guy was very reluctant to sell the dog back, and Rocky had to buy it back for, pardon me, some exorbitant sum of money. Which to me, that sounds bullshit. Like, that sounds fake. Buying it and selling it from Mike, somebody knows, makes way more sense.
Yeah, so that's from Jimmy Gambino, who's had this love-hate relationship with Rocky and the franchise and Sly. Okay, so yo, Buckus! He sees Buckus, and of course that's his dog in real life. Now, of course, the film, he's got the dog back. Poor Buckus in this cage, this holding cage.
What are you doing today? Yo, Buckus!
Yo,
Buckus!
But he's so cute.
Adrian,
All right, so of course, I know we all are heartbroken over that scene of Buckus in that cage. I just don't understand why he's in that cage. And the only thing I can think of, and this is my retcon of what's happening, why Buckus is in the cage, because he's in a kennel. He's in the kennel, which is fair. Dogs are kennel, they're allowed to be in kennels. So I'm guessing he's about to go for a walk, or he's in a holding place while they clean his area out. So they just put him in there while they go clean. And so he's like mid-transportation. So who knows? That's my...
I think he is like in there in the store.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. That's my retcon. That makes my soul feel better.
But my retcon is a grown dog wouldn't be like that. So the way that they made it work, because Sly's real dog, was because he says later, the owner never came back. So it was like they were boarding him there. They paid the pet shop to board their dog for X period of time, and then they never came back.
Okay.
Remember when he says that? He says to Adrian when he gives him. Rocky says, the owner never came back?
Oh, okay. I forgot about that. Okay. Good catch. There you go. So, yeah, maybe they're just... So it's a temporary holding. They weren't ready to kind of take on this big dog, so this is just a temporary holding, yeah. And maybe he comes home at night with the family, or with Adrian, or Gloria. Yeah. All right. So this is a fun little moment here. So Gloria says, "Hey, Adrian, go downstairs and clean the cages." Now Adrian pins something to her jacket. And can you see what this is? She goes down to clean the cat cages. They're a mess. Yeah, I can believe it. She's got a crappy job. She's bottom of the totem pole of this 2-person army here. When she has to go out behind the desk, she gets very nervous because now, she's behind the desk is kind of her little safety zone. So now she has to expose herself as she walks in front of the desk in front of Rocky. And Rocky kind of, like, I wouldn't say checks her out, but he's close to her. She's out from behind the desk, and they're just like Rocky says in Rocky Balboa, there's this energy, it's kinetic, talks about that electric energy that he feels when he's around her. And you see that moment here, just when she walks by him and he's there, and that's that silent moment of them passing. It's a really sweet, crazy, awkward, embarrassing, all rolled into one. But then watch her as she pins something to her lapel or something.
It's her watch, isn't it?
I want you to go downstairs and clean all the cat cages. They're a mess.
So Rocky looks up when he hears Gloria give that order. So he looks up. Oh, she's coming out from behind the desk. Okay, she doesn't pin it. She just fiddles with it. My apologies. Okay.
It's her watch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a watch hanging from her jacket, which is so cute. Yeah, it's a nervous fidget. Yeah. Because she's got to walk out she's got to walk by Rocky. So right there, she looks. So what is that look that she gets? A little look in the smile she gets just before she goes down to this. And I always get a kick out of what is down there in that basement of a pet shop.
Cat cages.
That's where they are, but I always picture my mind like off screen.
Oh.
Like it's just this disaster of an area.
I think the look she gives him, my interpretation is, I see, I acknowledge you.
I think Rocky's annoyed with Gloria here.
Absolutely.
That's not unreasonable to ask Adrian to do that. Adrian works for her. That's like probably her job. He sees this person kind of like barking orders at Adrian, or he doesn't respect her or like her, or maybe treat Adrian as he would treat her, which is probably not how an employee would treat, or employer would treat an employee. But in Rocky's mind, that wouldn't matter. And, you know, he sends her to the basement to do this shitty job, even though, again, it's not that unreasonable to ask that. And I think that he lashes out by doing this thing with the turtle food here, and there's nothing Gloria could do about it.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think he is annoyed at Gloria a little bit. That builds off what we saw, though, with Adrian walking in front of Rocky, is all I'm saying. Like, there's two things going on. I think Rocky's kind of annoyed at Gloria. Yeah, he does a bit of a stink eye at Gloria when he stands up, because he looks annoyed. He's not feeling that way about Adrian, of course. And also, not so much that she's doing the dirty job, but that now Gloria has taken Adrian away from him.
That's probably what it is now that you say that. Gloria probably did that just to get Adrian away, and maybe just to get Rocky to leave, perhaps.
And it worked. Rocky had to go because Adrian's.
Yeah. Good call. I thought he was just like being protective of her. But yeah.
Visiting hours are over. That's Gloria goes, "You got to pay for that turtle food, Rockhead."
Hey, crime don't pay. You know that.
Hey, crime don't pay. You know that, Gloria. You know that.
And they just let it happen.
Yeah, he did steal it. And I would assume Gloria knows that he collects for Gazzo. He's a loan shark in the neighborhood. So it's kind of like, what's Gloria going to do? The $1.75 turtle food.
It's not like you can call the cops. This guy, Rocky, shoplifted there. Philadelphia cops in the 70s have bigger fish to fry than that.
Speaking of pet food, bigger fish to fry, yeah. Now, I've always loved the sequence. Now, for our listeners, of course, we're at the docks. Rocky's carrying that stick. He hits the back of this forklift, and I don't know why I always get a kick out of it. It's not scripted, because he hits the back of it trying to stop this guy from driving away, and I love the way the stick shatters. I don't know why I always get a kick out of that when the stick just breaks apart. You can't plan that, but just the way the stick shatters when he hits the forklift.
I like how he plays with it.
But just look at this dockyard. How dirty and grubby, and this is real. This is nothing set up here for the movie. This is just what it is at the time. It's just like a war zone. Those pallets are rotting, rusty metal everywhere. I'd be interested to see what this place looks like right now. Now, what I love here is you got these gangster kind of guys standing around this car here, and that's all we ever know about these guys. They kind of say hi to Rocky, which gives you this indication of, again, where Rocky's working with the mob, so to speak, the local small-time mob guys. These guys are standing around. They're probably loan shark or mafia ties. Who knows? But he's part of this racket because they kind of acknowledge Rocky. Rocky acknowledges them. So they know each other a little bit in this shady underworld business.
Yo, Rock, how's your boss? Real good. Hey, Rock, you fighting again? Yeah, hey, we'll make some money real soon, eh?
Yeah, $1 million. Hey, you. Where you going?
Now, this guy that he captures, I forget his name. Do we ever get his name?
Bob.
Bob? That's right, Bob. I keep forgetting his name.
I have the inflation-adjusted debt numbers here, too. I was
good.
doing that.
Okay. I wanted to know how much his jacket was worth. Okay, let's keep going.
Where you going? Huh? Where you running?
Yeah.
Where you running? Hey! Don't hit the face! No, not the face! The guy wants the 200 now.
Okay, so he wants $200. So that would be about how much now?
That's $1,054.
Decent amount of money.
Yeah, and then Bob only has 130, which is like 685. So he's pretty light.
Well, he's light, but it's 2/3, right? So it's not too bad.
Yeah? I'm broke. Honest to God, I'm broke. Mr. Gazzo says I should get the 200 to break your thumb. You understand? Please. Huh? Please. What's your name again?
Rocky's the enforcer. Now, of course, Bob must know Rocky because he already started running the moment Rocky showed up. But Rocky doesn't actually... It's funny, what's your name again? Well, do I have the right guy? I don't know why Rocky's asking his name. It's like, yeah, do I have the right guy? It's interesting, does he know him by face? Or how does he know this is the guy he's supposed to get if he asks for his name?
Yeah, good question. Maybe he saw him when he initially borrowed the money or something like that. Who knows?
Huh? Bob. Listen, Bob. You want to dance, you got to pay the band. You understand?
I love that little mafia talk there. You want to dance, you got to pay the band. You know what I'm saying? So if you're taking money, you better be ready to give it back.
You want to borrow, you got to pay the man. Hey, I ain't emotionally involved, Bob. You understand?
Now, Rocky says he's not emotionally involved. Okay, he doesn't care whether Bob's light, whether he's borrowed money or not. But Rocky is always emotionally involved.
He has to say that to Bob to scare him, right? Like, a lot of this, as much as psychological, Rocky looks intimidating, he acts intimidating, wants to act harsh and non-caring. He wants Bob to really believe that he's going to break his thumb. It's funny, like, Bob's up against this metal. I don't know what it is. Some sort of steel grating or something like that. This seems like such a harsh environment. It just seems like this unforgiving, harsh, bleak, urban environment. When Rocky just operates in this really shitty little world where he has to collect from guys like Bob, that's got to, like, hurt your soul in a way, especially if you're like Rocky and you like animals and you're not like this, really. He's really a fish out of water here. Like, he looks the part, but he's not the part at all.
Very well
Putting
said.
on a really good show, though. I agree with you, Kyle. I noticed because Ryan has Frozen, the show he's putting on for Bob is really good because look how his eyes are looking at Bob. He looks really menacing, the way his eyes are staring.
Very well said, Katie. Because not only is Rocky putting on a good show, but so is Sly. And let me explain.
Yeah.
This was only the second day of filming. Or I should say this was the second scene filmed. So whether that was the first or second day, I don't know. But this was the second scene filmed in the movie. Sly was still sort of on a retainer during this scene. He had to prove to the studio that he was a man for the job. So what we're seeing here is a combination of Rocky acting the role of tough guy to this Bob, but we're also seeing Sly, the actor, acting like Rocky acting. So it's really kind of meta. I know it's interesting that we're seeing Rocky acting like a tough guy, but we're seeing Sly acting like Rocky acting like a tough guy. This is a sequence where he still wasn't guaranteed to be in the whole film, because this can happen. We know what happened with Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future. He was famously replaced by Michael J. Fox. It's not the first and won't be the last time the actors will be on the scene or set for a couple days, a couple weeks, and they're like, oh, this is not working. We got to recast. So Sly, being an unknown at the time, this was a moment where he had to prove to the studio that he was the man for the job.
He got an easy break in this scene then. He often gets cast as like a mugger or a tough guy, or someone like that, right? Really, this scene is within his element. I think to movie producers and directors, he comes across as the collector type guy anyway. I think if he had his first scene was a scene with Adrian or something like that, if I were him, I'd be a lot more afraid of getting cut.
That's fair.
Give me some money.
So this Bob guy's doing a good job. His hands are shaking as he's getting the money out of a wallet for Rocky. It's a great little moment there. The actor playing Bob is shaking. He's not cold. He's afraid. So Bob said there's $130 in that wallet. There are $130 you took out of my wallet there.
That's it. I'm broke. Hey, Bob. Hey. You're still $70 late.
You don't have to break nothing. Here, take my coat. It's worth $50, $60.
Kyle, $50, $60 for the coat, Kyle. So what's that?
$300. No way.
Yeah, it's around $300, give or take.
What kind of jacket is he buying for $300? Actually, one of my jackets I have is a hand-me-down for my father-in-law. I hate buying clothes for myself.
Of course you can. I don't buy that Bob buys a $3 jacket.
That's what I'm surprised. This guy who's $200 in the hole to Gazo buys a $300 jacket? Did this guy go to the school of Pauly when it comes to finance?
Yeah.
He's bullshitting, of course, right? He's going to inflate the value of that jacket to conveniently be exactly the amount of money he's short. Or close to the amount of money he's short. Can you imagine, though, if you're Rocky and you have to break this guy's thumb, what that would look like? You have to take someone's thumb, bend it back, cracks. How brutal that would be. And we know Rocky's actually done that. Because in Rocky V, he has assault convictions related to loan sharking. It's not like he does this thing with Bob every time and he's the gentle debt collector.
Right.
This Bob thing seems to be an exception. I could never do that to somebody. Actually, I'd feel bad for someone like Bob there. Like, I, too, would not be cut out to be a debt collector.
Yeah.
No, Rocky has done violent stuff per se, but like he says in that interview in part 2, which we'll get to, of course, nothing worth bragging about.
I think Rocky's done prison time. If you get an assault conviction, you probably are sentenced to jail. You think he's done even months or something like that?
Maybe.
For assault, if you break someone's thumb?
Anyone that's read the novelizations, that probably they were authorized, they were quote unquote written by Sly. I don't think they're written by Sly. They were narrated by Sly to an author. But anyways, I would assume if anyone's read the novelizations of these movies, there would be a backstory about that, so maybe they can let us know in an email that Sly in those novelizations might have given some backstory about his criminal record. I bet you that would have been told in those stories, because those are canon because they were written by Sly. Yeah.
I guess he did county jail time, not prison.
Okay.
He got bailed out by Gazzo or something.
So Rocky's like, take the coat. I think right now Rocky's just like, ugh, I've just had enough of this stuff. I can't get the girl. I'm still fighting at this stupid church or gym, an old church. I don't want to break any more thumbs. I don't want this guy being cold. Take the coat. I think he's nearing the end of his own. What am I doing? This is what we're seeing.
Yeah.
We're seeing the peak of his dip, so to speak.
The justification he gives to Gazzo is not the worst justification.
It's pretty smart for Rocky.
Ah.
I don't think that's the reason why Rocky didn't break his thumb, because he says that if he breaks his thumb, the guy gets laid off, he can't make money, he can't pay the rest of his debt. Right, which is not a big picture thing. Gazzo's probably willing to take the loss on Bob's debt if that happens in order to make it seem like anyone else who borrows should be afraid to not pay them. Like Gazzo's thinking more long term, right?
Yeah.
But even so, that's not a horrible justification. Yeah, I think it's bullshit. I think Rocky doesn't want to break his thumb. He's done with this.
Yeah, because look at his face here. Take the coat. He's like, ugh, I'm just done.
The coat.
So take the coat. You know, you should have planned ahead. You know that? You should have planned ahead.
Let's fake it. I'll tape up the hand like you broke the thumb.
Planned ahead.
Gazzo don't have to know. He won't be wise to nothing. Gazzo won't be wise to nothing. Keep the coat.
So it's interesting, too, because we're seeing this guy is like, Gazzo has a reputation. I guess he does have some sort of reputation because it's like, I'll tape my thumbs like you broke it. Gazzo doesn't have to know because there's probably a part of him who's like, if Gazzo still doesn't think my thumbs are broke, he might send somebody else to break them. So he's not doing that for Rocky's sake. I think we were led to believe that he's telling him, you know, Gazzo doesn't have to know, not for Rocky's sake. It's for his sake. I don't want Gazzo to know they aren't broken because he might send another thug after me to break them.
Possibly. Rocky could get in trouble for not breaking his thumb, right?
But does he care?
Hey, Rocky, you did me a solid by not breaking my thumb. I'll do you a solid by making it seem like my thumb's broken so you don't get in shit from Gazzo.
I think it's a bit
That's
of
how I took it as well, but it could be both. Yeah.
because they just met. I don't know why he'd be so sweet on Rocky, but sure. I think he's more concerned about his own safety because he keeps saying keep the coat, meaning take something to Gazzo more because I don't think he wants any more. I don't think Rocky's the only collector.
No.
Maybe. I don't think he's actually going to tape his thumb. People say stuff in the moment like that, and they don't actually follow through.
That Bob guy was great.
Yeah.
Whoever that actor is.
He had like spittle on his lip, slobbering. He gave it his all.
He genuinely scared.
Yeah.
He was believably terrified there. Like, it's... You gotta give it to actors, the good ones, who can really replicate those kind of emotions. Like, that is not an easy thing to do.
I couldn't be an actor. I would suck at it. So the famous scene here, of course, of Rocky smoking, playing with that ball, the train going by. This is a sequence here where, the film crew was ready for the train. They wanted the train to go by, so that was all timed. Train's coming, start rolling cameras. And so they waited for the shot.
I also love, so there's no cell phones to be like, okay, pick me up at, this is where I am. It's like they just have a set place and or a set time that they're going to come pick him up. I can't fathom that. No cell phones. You can't call and be like...
But we lived through it, though. Like we say that, but all three of us lived through a time, especially in our youth, where we made arrangements via the phone. It's okay, I'll pick you up at 7:30 at the corner of whatever, and we just counted on it because there's no way of verifying. I'm on my way, or where are you? It's like you kind of had to wait. Yeah.
True.
You just don't think to set that kind of stuff up now because you don't have to.
Yeah.
He only had 130, but I think he's good for the rest next week, Mr. Gazzo.
Okay, so he hands him the 130, calls him Mr. Gazzo. I love Joe Spinelli here. So they met. Joe Spinelli, who plays Gazzo, Sly and him met actually on the film set for this one. So Sly recruited Joe for this film. They met on My Fair
Oh,
Lady.
good.
Joe's also, he will show up later in the movie Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese. He's the cab dispatcher. Seeing him in movies, I don't know why. There's something about Gazzo I really like. Oh, there's just something likable about him. I like his kind of voice, like that shrill, I think we're running some kind of charity.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, it's great voice, great acting, and so Sly met him on the set of Farewell, My Lovely. I guess Sly had a very small part on that, or kind of background actor. So they met on that. They were both. He said they were both extras on the film, so they were chatting up behind scenes. And Sly really like Kyle was saying, Sly liked the cut of his jib. And so when they did the Rocky, he goes, "Hey, I got a part for you." Sly reached out to Joe, said, "Hey, I got a part for you." So it was Sly that got him on this movie. The bodyguard, played by a guy named Joe Sorbello. Well, Joe is not an actor. He was a local construction worker that they hired to go on the film.
Dang.
So
I thought he was just the driver. They have him as bodyguard, huh?
Bodyguard, yeah. He's a credit as Mr. Gazzo's bodyguard / driver, but yeah, in the credits he's bodyguard. He's only done a couple of film roles, so this was his biggest role in his life, and he was literally a construction worker. And, Sly said he was a really nice guy in real life, but played the a-hole in the movie very well.
What a claim to fame.
Yeah, imagine just doing construction in Philly, and now you're Gazzo's bodyguard. The way he delivers his lines is so great. So Gazzo say, "Yeah, sure, Rocky, Bob's good for it." So they know, yeah, Bob's good for it. Yeah, sure.
Rocky, Bob's good for it. That's it for today.
So he hands him $20. So how much is that today?
It's about 70 or $80.
I love the way Rocky grabs the money too. It's an interesting scene, the way he just grabs that money out of Gazzo's hand. I don't know why, the way he just kind of snatches it like it's going to go away.
You get a desperate energy from it.
That's right.
It's interesting that Gazzo doesn't ask him if he broke Bob's thumb, which I think maybe you think at the beginning is because he trusts that Rocky would have done it. But of course we know that he already knows what happened already. It's interesting to go to Katie's comment. It's not like he got a text from those guys at the dock or a phone call, right? The Canaries have a very efficient, albeit mysterious, system of conveying information quite quickly.
A lot of canaries floating around.
It's also really, I think it helps us like Gazzo more also, because it doesn't embarrass Rocky by scolding him in front of Bobby or whatever, this driver. He waits and to say something to out of earshot.
Agreed.
Tomorrow I collect from Del Rio. He's late 3 weeks and I don't like it.
Tomorrow, 3 weeks. Del Rio?
So Rocky puts on his reading glasses to write down. I love how he's got
it.
He could have memorized it, Del Rio, 3 weeks. Now, this part kills me because we saw with the Bob scene. I know we're overanalyzing this, but this is what I love about the show. But he doesn't know Bob's name, apparently, when he gets Bob. So was it a description? Is he going to be driving that forklift at that time? Or he's got weird, crazy hair, whatever it is. But now he's getting the name. He's getting Del Rio as a name, so he's going to write it down. He's never met Del Rio. How does he even know what Del Rio looked like? If you told me, "Hey, Ryan, I want you to go beat the crap out of, Peter Jones at the dockyard," I'd be like, "Peter Jones? Anyone know where Peter Jones?" Like, you'd have to go around asking people.
I think they kind of know of everyone.
Okay.
Gazzo gives a last name, not a first name. So Del Rio is the guy, is whoever, Jim Del Rio.
There's likely a lot of these people. Oh, sorry, Katie.
No, that's okay.
They're likely a lot of repeat customers. Like, the thing about loan sharking in particular is that, for example, Bob owed $200. He didn't borrow $200. He probably borrowed like $70 or $80. Like, the exorbitant interest rates, if you could even call them that. Even though Gazzo only got 130 back, but really only 110 because he had to pay Rocky the 20. He probably has already made a profit off that deal, and he's still going to get the other 70 out of Bob, most likely. Like, it's someone like Bob in a financial trap where people like with payday loans now, which is essentially, in my mind, loan sharking, is that you got to keep borrowing from them in order to stay afloat. Because if you can't come up with $80 at the beginning of the month, and then you're expected to pay back $200, by the time you pay that back, next month you're going to need another loan. It's very predatory in that way. As much as I like Gazzo's character, like, he really is a piece of shit, like what he's doing here.
Well, yeah, you're making money off the desperate.
The lovable gangster.
Yeah. I love the reading glasses that Rocky has, though. So he's already got bad eyes, and we talk about the bad eye in Rocky 2. He's already got bad eyes, apparently.
All right, I got it. Del Rio. How do you spell Del Rio?
How'd you do last night?
Oh, that's what I meant to say. Sorry, not that he didn't know. Why does it matter how Del Rio's spelled? That's what I was meant to get at. Rocky, it doesn't matter how it's spelled. You've got it phonetically. The proper spelling of Del Rio shouldn't matter in getting the guy. It's like, well, you picked up the wrong Del Rio. Like, this is Del Rio with a silent H in Del, you know?
Which is why Gazzo skims right over it. He's like, what, in his head, what the, you moron, you don't need to know that.
Yeah. How'd you do last night?
How'd you do llast night?
Yeah.
If you're meticulous, if you're a meticulous person, though, you'll want to spell it right.
Is Rocky meticulous? Maybe, I guess.
He can be.
Seen his apartment, Kyle?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So Gazzo knows, of course, he fought last night, which I like. He takes an interest in Rocky's personal life. I did real good.
I did real good.
Hey,
What?
did you get the license number?
Of what?
The truck that run over your face.
Sorry. Did you get the license of the truck that ran over your face? But already before he even answered, so when the guy says, did you get license plate number? Rocky already answers really clipped. Did you catch that? He was like, of what? You already get a sense these two already don't like each other. They've had interactions before. Because the way he answers of what, he talked to Gazzo respectively, nicely, and then when this bodyguard starts talking, Rocky's already on the defensive or / offensive.
Relax, buddy. All right, pull it over here. I want to let Rocky out, and then I'm going to talk to him for a few seconds.
Now look at this area here. Look at this area here. It looks like if you were to take this photo, you would say this was a war-torn city.
I encourage people listening to this podcast, Google and then do an image search of South Bronx 1970s. You'll see stuff like this every picture. There's a ton of this stuff going on here. A lot of these buildings get abandoned, but what's happening is the value of these properties, because of the changing economy and getting out of the industrial area, has gone down. And so the landlords will hire people to burn them down or destroy them to get the insurance money.
Well, what I don't understand is this is 1976. When was this building new and good? Because it already looks like it's 50 years bad.
Because like Philadelphia's population peaked in the 1950s. I'm talking the city of Philadelphia, not like the Philadelphia metro area. That building is probably from the 30s or 40s, and maybe even earlier, the 20s. So like just the early like turn of the century industrialization, Philly would have been a powerhouse town. Would have been a major manufacturing center. And then after the 50s, cities like Philly and Detroit, Pittsburgh, places like that, they're all part of the, I don't know if Philly's part of the Rust Belt necessarily, but it kind of has that. A lot of these heavy industry, big factories, that gets outsourced to places like China. And then also they built the interstate highway system in the 50s and 60s. Everyone went out to the suburbs. Then the inner cities like this went into decay.
I'm just be curious what that building was. Like, what was it? At some point, that was built for something. It was brand new, and everyone's, hey, it's exciting. Let's go in this building today. I'm always curious by that infrastructure. Like, when was this new and pristine? And now it's just an empty cobblestone brick road, and there's just nobody's here.
Yeah, at one point, you see the railroad track adjacent to it. So likely it was some sort of, it could have been, it's probably not manufacturing, but those buildings in the background look like they could be. That could have been like a distribution center or something where freight comes in or out and then it gets loaded onto the nearby trains.
Sorry, I feel bad. I've been ignoring our chat in Discord. Not ignoring it, but let me just read some stuff real quick. So some stuff here. Back to the pet shop, Donald said, Gloria is cracking wise with Rocky as well. So it's not just Adrian that sees him a lot. So there you go. So that's more proof that Rocky goes there a lot. Louise agrees that Talia Shire is perfectly cast. Donald goes on to say it's just one of these movies where the stars align just right. Yeah, so thanks, guys. We apologize for not reading the comments. Bad host.
How come you didn't break this guy's thumb like I told you?
How do you know I didn't break it?
You don't think I hear things? Did I give you a job this morning or I didn't?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
So why didn't you break his thumb like I told you to? When you don't do what I tell you to do, you make me look bad, Rock.
I figure if I break the guy's thumb, he gets laid off, right? He can't make...
Yeah, well, don't figure. Let me do the figuring, okay, Rock?
So I love the way he's talking here. It's just great acting by Joe Spinelli. And I love how he takes out that asthma medication. That was real, by the way. He really did that. It was a real hit.
I also really like how Rocky has this fidgety way of kind of turns away when he He doesn't want to look him in the eye. Gazzo forces him every time. Like, not in a mean way, but just
in real life, well, in the universe of Rocky, Rocky could lay out Gazzo in one punch right here. If it came down to it, it's this weird master over slave ownership, because Rocky can beat the crap out of Gazzo, but this that weird power move where Gazzo's pushing him and say, hey, come on, man, you make me look bad. You make it look, he's shoving him a little bit, and Rocky looks like the cowering dog. It's almost, like a beaten dog. And a dog, really, most dogs, obviously not ankle biters, but you start beating Butkus. Butkus will be like, stop beating. It's terrible. This happens. But I'm not. But the analogy is true. Like a dog could wait a minute. I can just bite this guy's hand. Enough.
Yeah.
But they don't. They feel like I can't do this to my master. So that's what Rocky's he's kind of cowering a little bit. He's like, I feel stupid. I'm such a dummy, and I don't know why. And Gazzo kind of enforces, let me do the figure, and you're not smart enough to figure things out. Let me do the figure. But he's right. It makes me look bad as a mob boss, but at the same time, don't do the figuring. I'm the mob boss. You're just the enforcer.
Also, Rocky can't do anything against Gazzo for a couple reasons. Gazzo is his source of income for the most part. Like, he doesn't make a lot of money from fighting. Plus, if you punch someone like Gazzo in the face, next week you'd probably disappear.
Yeah,
of course.
That's the power move. That's what I mean. It's just in this moment, these two men, Rocky can kill him, but he can't because of the.
From here on, just let me do the figuring. These guys think that we're running some kind of charity or something. They're gonna get a fight. From here on in, do what I tell you to do because it's bad for my reputation. You understand? You got it, Rock?
I got it.
Such great acting there by Sly too. Just the way that fidgeting you're talking about, Katie, and the way he's feels stupid. You're like, oh, I got it. But at this moment, this is where we're starting to see this peak, pissed off, I hate my life right now. His mental health is red right now.
Yeah.
The way he was looking there reminded me of being a teenager and getting chewed out by people for doing stupid things.
Hey, how do you spell Del Rio?
Look up in a dictionary, Rock.
Come on. Hey, I won't let that happen no more about the thumb.
I love the way he says that. Okay, a lot of good things here. How do you spell Del Rio? Look it up in the dictionary. Again, it doesn't matter, Rocky. You phonetically, he's the only Del Rio you got to worry about. And then
I love that.
But the way Sly, or of course Rocky, the character, but the way it's written, I won't let that happen no more about the thumb. I love the way that's worded because we don't say that. I wouldn't say like that. I would say, next time I'll break the thumb, Gazzo. That's how Ryan would speak. But I love the Rockyisms. I won't let that happen no more about the thumb. It's a great way of saying it.
That's because you have education. If we go back to the Creed movie, when he's talking to Michael B. or to Adonis, should I say, he says to him, look, I could tell by the way you're talking that you've gone to school. Where Rocky hasn't. Rocky dropped out of the 9th grade or something like that.
So 14. So he hasn't had a proper formal education in 16 years. Yeah.
He makes all these grammatical errors because he doesn't know any better.
That,
Sorry. We also see Gazzo wave his hand like no big deal.
Yeah.
And we know that Gazzo really likes Rocky. Gazzo, I think Gazzo is a professional, has to do his job and tell Rocky that he fucked up, but then he's not gonna hold it against him, right? He's not nothing personal about it.
He has a huge soft spot.
Yes, agreed.
Rocky.
Yeah, and Gazzo has one for Rocky. Yeah.
It's a potential bromance going on there.
Wasn't Gazzo originally written as the brother? Didn't you guys say that?
Oh, I think that was true. Yeah, I think there was some truth to that. That's right. So if that was written that way officially, I think you're right. It's kind of played still to that. There's a feeling of that, even though they're not officially brothers.
Brotherliness.
Yeah, brotherliness. Yeah, perfect. Yes, yeah, exactly. If you look at them as being brothers, this relationship makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Come on. Hey, I won't let that happen no more about the thumb.
Now watch this guy call him a meatbag, and watch Joe Spinelli kind of hit him on the shoulder. Come on, enough of that. Very subtle. You wouldn't see it on a first time viewing, but Gazzo hits him on the arm. Come on, enough chirping at him. Watch.
So long, meatbag.
This good little stuff. And then of course Rocky says the famous line.
I should have broke your thumbs.
Great music by Santi.
This part of the movie is so sad.
Yeah.
Like it is lowest.
Now, if you're watching this movie for the first time, you're 16 minutes into the film, you're like, what? Like, this is not depressing, but this guy's life is just like, can't get the girl, can't be a good enforcer, can't win boxing, lives in a crappy apartment. Wow. This guy's got quite the life going.
It's really that when it rains, it pours. This is not a good week. Sometimes you have weeks that are better than other weeks, and this is probably not one of Rocky's best weeks. Although he did win that fight, which was good, but...
Yeah, I did real good. You should see me. I did real good. And he's about to tell somebody else he did real good. But that, my friends, will be the next episode. Teaser here where Rocky goes to the gym, and we see the gym for the first time inside, and we get to meet Mickey on screen, and Mike outside the gym. Remember Mike? Jimmy Gambino plays Mike? Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Hey, one thing I wanted to mention... just about the decline of that area there. I was looking up some stats. Right now, we complain about inflation because it's high. It's like 5 or 6% or maybe a bit higher. In this time, inflation was 10% a year. Unemployment rate was about 10% too. Mm-hmm. So inflation and unemployment were double here than what they are right now. And people are suffering right now.
Wow.
Your point, I think it might have been Carter did something that he knew would not get him reelected, but it was the right thing for the country. Like, he made it to help get the country out of it.
All right, well, stand by for next week. We'll talk about the American decline in poverty and unemployment. Can you imagine if we did that? We'll probably like triple our listeners, though. All right, well, there you go, everyone. That is episode 3 of One More Round. I'm loving how we're doing this. This is a fun rewatch, and I'm even noticing things like when that little Joe Spinelli moment where he hits Buddy's arm. Hey, come on, enough chirping at Rocky. I've never caught that before. I just caught that literally watching this right now. And I even rewatched this scene like 3 times before going on this episode today. So I love it. There's just little nuggets we keep catching, and it's fantastic. And I hope our listeners are, during our One More Round, they're getting something else as well. Well, that's it. That's the end of the episode.
I didn't hear no bell.
I just want to say